Hey, I'm Courtney Waterman, your tutor. Lover of anime, manga, and math. And you just tuned into another session of Tutor Me Sempai. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're jumping into a 6th grade topic, creating equations from pictures. Now, if you're new to my channel, I'll be putting time codes in for this video in the description box below, so use that to skip ahead to whatever part of the video you think is most interesting. As always, if you have any questions about what you see today, or even your own homework, you can always visit my Facebook page at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. Today's video will have 4 parts, so leave a like, smash the subscribe, and let's get started! So in today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be taking what we know about independent variables and dependent variables, and we're going to construct some equations. However, instead of using word problems where everything is written out, we're going to be looking at pictures to do so. So I'm going to have a few pictures right here instead of this whiteboard, and we're going to look at it together, and we're going to try to pick out what is our independent variable and what is our dependent variable for whatever we're trying to find, and then we're going to come back here and then put it all together to make our equation. Now, if you have any questions about what an independent variable is, what a dependent variable is, or even what an equation is, no worries. I made videos on all of those topics, and I will link them in the description box below, so check those out whenever you get a chance. However, I'm going to be moving on with the assumption that you have a good understanding on all 3 of those topics, and we're going to be jumping straight into our first example for today. So in our first example for today, it looks like we're in some sort of market in which we have a bunch of fruit around us. However, the fruit that really catches our attention would be the cherries that are right in front of us at $7.99 a pound. We can effectively ignore everything else in the background because that's not going to matter for this example. It's these cherries that are $7.99 a pound. Now, this is all the information that we're given. So how are we supposed to create an equation if all we know is that cherries are $7.99 a pound? Well, the answer to that is, it depends. Is this something that you're running into in real life? Because this could be a real life example. Or is it something that your teacher is giving you for homework? If it's something your teacher is giving you for homework, they may tell you what type of equation to create. If you're out and about and you're shopping and you see this, then it's up to you. What are you trying to find out? That's the question we're going to be trying to answer, or at least form with our equation. So I'm going to go ahead and tell us that we're trying to create an equation that lets us know how much we're spending if we buy a certain amount of cherries. So we're going to be purchasing a lot of cherries, pounds and pounds and pounds of cherries. And we want to make an equation that will easily tell us how much that's going to cost us. So if we need to create that type of equation, what is going to be our dependent variable and what's going to be our independent variable? Remember, I said I want to buy a lot of cherries, pounds and pounds and pounds of it. Now, what we don't know is how much it's going to cost. What we do know is how many pounds I want to purchase. I control that. So I can buy 1 pound, 2 pounds, 3 pounds, however many pounds I want to buy, I control that. So what's going to be our independent and dependent variable? It looks to be that our pounds of cherries are going to be our independent variable because we can control that, and the total cost would be our dependent variable. So let's take all that information and let's start putting it together so we can create our equation. So here we have our dependent variable, which we just said was going to be our total cost. So we can say T for total cost. Total cost, we don't know what that is. We want to find that potentially, not right now, but we want to be able to find that if we want it. Our total cost, but we do control what? Our independent variable, which we said was going to be the pounds of cherries we're going to buy. So we can say P for pounds. This is going to be the pounds of cherries. We control that. How many cherries we're going to buy by the pound. We control P for the pounds of cherries we're buying. So remember, we said in an earlier video that we want to put our dependent variable separate from our independent variable. So we're going to have our T on this side equaling something P. Now, what is that something? We know that our cherries are going to cost $7.99 by the pound. And we know that P is going to be the amount of pounds that we're going to buy. So $7.99 times however many pounds we're going to buy should be how much we're going to pay totally. So this is going to be $7.99. So we can get some space here. $7.99, P is going to be on the right side. $7.99 times P is a times P. T equals 7.99 times P. This is going to be our equation if we're trying to figure out how much it's going to cost us to buy pounds and pounds and pounds of cherries. Let's move on to our second example for today. In our second example, we find ourselves in this 99-cent store. So for this example, we're going to assume that this is a true to heart 99-cent store and not this fake 99-cent store in which you have something that clearly costs more than 99 cents. And we're going to assume, for our example's sake, that everything in this store costs exactly 99 cents. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Let's write an equation that's going to help us figure out the total cost if we want to buy a certain amount of items. So knowing that, and we are in this store in which every single thing costs 99 cents, what is going to be our dependent variable and what's going to be our independent variable? Remember, we want to create an equation in which we can find out what's the total cost if we were to buy a certain amount of items. So the amount of items that we buy is something that we choose, right? We can go in and buy one thing, two things, 15 things. We choose how much we want to buy. What we don't necessarily choose is how much it's going to cost. That's going to depend on how many things we buy. So our dependent variable should be their total cost. And our independent variable is going to be how many items we are buying. So let's take that information and put it all together so we can create our equation. So we're back here and we're going to say our dependent variable was once again the T for the total cost. So T is going to be the total cost. We don't know what that is, and that's going to depend on how many items we're buying. So our independent is going to be I for the number of items bought, right? We don't necessarily know how much is going to cost at the end, but we do control how many things we're going to buy. And when we put all of that together, we're going to put T on one side, we're going to put the I on the other side, and what are we going to put in between? Well, in between is going to be how much everything costs, right? Individually, we know that every item in this store is going to be 99 cents for our example. So we know that if we bought two things, each of those two things, 99 cents. So it's 99 cents per item. So we know that this is going to be 0.99 times I, the amount of items we're going to buy. So our equation for this example is going to be T equals 0.99 times I. And this is going to help us figure out how much our total cost is going to be if we are going to buy a certain number of items. So before we move on to our last example for today, let's take a step back. Remember, in our first example, I told you that your equation that you're going to make depends on what you're trying to find out. In our first two examples, we wanted to find out our total cost, but it doesn't have to be that. You could try to find out something completely different, and that's going to change your dependent and your independent variable, thus changing your equation. So let's go back into our 99-cent store and let's try to craft a different type of equation based on something else that we want to find out. So we're back in the 99-cent store, and we know that everything, for our example, is going to be literally 99 cents. It's not going to be anything else but 99 cents in this store. Not a penny more, not a penny less. However, we know exactly how much money we have in our pocket. So we have to spend no more than this amount. How many items can we buy for a certain amount of money in our pocket? That's the type of equation we want to create now. So with that in mind, what's going to be different? What do we control? Well, we control how much money we're going into store with, right? We know how much money we have on our person, but we don't necessarily know how much we can buy with that. We know we can go into a store with, let's say, $1, $2, $15, $30. However, we don't know how many items we'll be able to purchase with that. It depends on how much money we have. So that total cost is going to be how much money we have. We're going to spend everything. So what is going to be our independent and what's going to be our dependent variable for this example? Well, in this example, it seems our total cost is going to be what we can control. So it's going to be our independent variable, right? Everything that we have on our person is going to go into this store, so we control the total cost. That means that our dependent variable for this example is going to be the number of items that we can buy. So you see our dependent and independent variables switch depending on what you're looking for, and that's perfectly normal. It's okay. Your equations should flow like this depending on what you're looking for. Nothing is going to be permanently independent or permanently dependent. It's all dependent upon what you're trying to find. So let's take all of that information and put it all together so we can create our new equation. So we just said that our dependent variable this time is going to be the number of items. So I is going to be the number of items we can buy. However, our independent was going to be T, the total cost. So, completely swapped here. Total cost. We're going to once again put our dependent variable by itself on one side. So our dependent is going to be I this time, equals, and it's going to be a T on this side. Now, what's going to be next to T? Remember what we're trying to do. We're trying to find out how much we can buy, how many different items we can buy. We know each item in the store costs 99 cents. So does it make sense to do 0.99 times T again? No, it doesn't make sense to do that because we're not going to be multiplying our money by how much each thing costs. We're going to be dividing our total money by how much each thing costs. That should tell us what we need to find out. So instead of being multiplied by 0.99, we're actually going to be divided by 0.99. So 1 over 0.99 times our total money, T. So this tells us that we can't just take our numbers that's going to be in our pictures or even our word problems and just slap it next to our independent variable. We have to be very intentional about what we're doing. We have to understand what we're putting here. In this case, if we're trying to find out the items, we have to divide how much money we have by the cost of each item. We can't just multiply that. That's giving us the wrong equation. That's not going to help us find out the number of items. So don't fall into that trap. Your equations can change, and you also have to be very, very intentional about what your coefficient is supposed to be. Well, I hope you were able to follow along with today's examples, and I hope you now understand how you can create your equations from your pictures. However, if you have any questions about what we saw today, or even on homework, remember you can visit me on my Facebook page at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. If you haven't done so already, remember to leave a like. It really helps the channel by letting YouTube know that you found a video helpful. And if you found a video helpful, so can someone else. So leave a like, hit the notification bell, smash the subscribe button, and share this video with a friend. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I really hope this helped with your homework, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. I'm Courtney, and this has been another session of Tutor Me Sempai.